crowdfunding really crowdfunding anymore? I don't think so. I think crowdfunding is turning into a lot of lies and marketing, disproportionately so. Why? In what ways? Two main ways. We'll talk about it. Let's go. First way, crowdfunding. It's smoke and mirrors. It's turning into smoke and mirrors, right? I've been saying this for a while. People have noticed it. People have been talking about it for a while too. But it's a point worth raising. Funding goals, right? Seismic. Jason, campaign, posted over on his campaign page, in case you're not familiar with it, that somebody like upped their pledge level to like 40 all-ins or something like that, right? And it threw him like way over the funding goal. And then slowly has been like peeling back like $1,000 a day, but then it got the momentum. People saw it was funded. And so then, it triggers sort of an avalanche cascade of other people being interested. And we've seen that plenty of times, right? Where you get these tiny, epic little games or other very aesthetically botany-esque canvas-style games coming on crowdfunding. And again, no fault of them necessarily, but you see people looking over their shoulder saying, people are backing this game, so I need to get in on it too. And then it turns into this, sort of illusion of how good is this game? Because that's really what we talk about in crowdfunding, right? We don't say how good was this game. One of the best games from this past month that I talked about that went on to crowdfunding in June, it's not going to raise anywhere near the most amount of money. It's not even necessarily going to break 6 digits. But you know what? We conflate money raised with quality of games. If you raise more money, you clearly have an overall better game. Spirit Island. And this is a fallacy that is being propped up and propped up and propped up on the media marketing side of things, right? Whether it's I'm only going to talk about all the big campaigns, I'm only going to get, coverage on these ones, or I'm going to pay for exposure, or marketing. I don't know, right? It's some element of that because it ties right into the funded in, right? The same concept is true. People look at how fast it was funded, and ergo, that means your game is a better game. Your game, I'm using the launch boom terms here, is a safe bet. No chance of not being successful. No chance of, and this is where we're wrong, right? No chance of being a bad game. No, that's wrong in 2 ways. One, plenty of bad games raised a bunch of money. Plenty of games that haven't delivered raised a bunch of money. Peterson Games, Onimaru, Storm Sunders, somewhere out in the middle of the desert lost, I think. Even if you say Chris, correlation is there. Causation is there, meaning more money, better game, right? Whichever way you want to say. It's a better game, so it gets more money, or it's getting more money, so that means it's ultimately going to be a better game, like the Awakened Realms situation, right? With Grim Coven, where they're saying, okay, well, we're raising a bunch of money and we hear you, and so we're going to change it to make it better. No. I prefer the horse before the cart the other way around, if that makes sense. But what I'm saying here is also that it may be one of the best games ever. But is it actually, and this is the biggest point of this, that is it a good game for you? Honestly, it seems like more and more media content nowadays doesn't care if it's right for you, right? We need to propagate and be able to sustain and or potentially even get paid, but we also need to stay in good graces, right? There's a delicate balance on my side of things in the camera from those aspects of things. And again, I'm speaking for myself, not speaking for anyone else. But the pressure from that aspect, intentionally, is there, right? I don't want you to criticize my game. I would like to pay you to not have an opinion, which again, lately has been blurring the lines of things. I see crowdfunding quotes on pages that are getting paid telling me this is a good game. No. I don't believe you. I can't necessarily say with all certainty that you're saying this is a good game because you got paid or because you actually think it's a good game. That blurs the lines in my head, right? I don't know what to make of that at some point. Because if you're giving a paid overview of things and then you tell me with, an opinion later on in the same video, right? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not what you're telling me you're doing, but then you're doing it. How do I reconcile those things as a consumer? Because also marketing, that's what this is. We have the rise of the paid content. We are having less opinions on skeleton prototypes nowadays to help inform you because publishers can do it. It's a win-win for channels. It's a win-win for publishers. You don't have to worry about a big channel giving any negative thoughts on it to potentially cause fear, uncertainty, or doubt or anxiety about the product. And the channels get money, which helps keep them, well, either afloat or just gives them money to buy games or whatever else they want with it, It's a dream. But as a consumer, it makes my job a whole hell of a lot harder, right? And again, I'm not going to begrudge it. It is what it is. It's the state of, capitalism. But it makes it really hard for me to tell then, is this game right for me? Or is this game ready for me? Or what is this game actually going to be in the end? Because we're getting less and less specific, less and less detailed, less and less, just deep in some of those thoughts. Because again, stuff's coming earlier. Free loans are being sought after sooner. And it's just not necessarily as easy to tell where the line is anymore. The other illusion that goes along with this, the big second one, right? Apart from the funded in 1.6 seconds. And I guess this goes back to Seismic too, that this raised the issue, this potential, this launch boom-esque vibe of how many fake backers do you think back stuff and cancel at the end of pledges or campaigns, right? Do you think that's actually a prevalent conspiracy that makes sense? It clearly happens. But if you asked me to point out a half a dozen cases, I probably couldn't. But it's one of those things where you can sort of feel the smoky tendrils whispering, or you've seen the sketchiness on that kick tracker curve that kind of does that all of a sudden. And you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Right? And at the same time, is it as creepy and prevalent and concerning as the use of something very similar that I talked about recently as a boogeyman of, AI art? Is it just a boogeyman like that? Or is it actually something we need to be concerned about? And frankly speaking, I don't know. But then the last element of things that, again, we've just been ignoring, again, for months and years as well, right? And Grim Coven, just not to single them out, but it just brought it back to my attention with also the debacle that happened years ago with Trudvang Legends from Simon, right? Stretch goals. Now it's daily unlocks. This air that you reaching certain funding goals or campaign contributions, essentially, is going to change the product. I mean, it's blatantly false. And yet it is this carrot that continues to be dangled for people. And it just sorely just driving a screw into the side of my skull, I guess, more than anything else. And one of the later updates in Grim Coven just sort of illustrated that point to me, right? They say, okay, currently, there's a card in the game that there are going to be 4 from the core box, and there's 1 additional from today's stretch goal, but the total number announced will be 6. So if you're telling me this is a stretch goal, but there's gonna be 6, and you've already told me it's not really a stretch goal. You've already said there's gonna be 6, so why aren't you just telling me it right now? And sort of like with Trudvang Legends, right? They had the 2 different paths. It's the illusion of choice. In case you've never heard of Hobson's choice, right? It's a free choice in which only actually one thing is really truly offered, right? So if you have a picture of 2 different bosses, which one do you want? Guess what? The mechanics are the exact same no matter what the picture of the boss that you choose, right? Sort of like with True Bang Legends, they're like, choose one of your paths. And guess what? We're going to unreveal the same thing on either side of the path. It's just going to make you feel better because when your side of the path gets chosen, you vote on it. You feel like you're getting some control, the illusion of control. I mean, and this is a psychological principle, right? It's a mental psychological model where you're going to be happier, right? Little dopamine sugar brains are going off when you believe that you have control over your own actions and can exercise free will. But when it's deprived, or, you know what, let's be very clear here. What happens in crowdfunding is you are seemingly deprived of something that too often people feel obligated to be owed, you know, then you become resentful or rebellious, even if the choice forced upon you is the exact thing that you would have selected of your own accord in the first place. You've never seen that, right? You have kids, right? You've ever seen a crowdfunding comment section, right? Can't please them, even if you're giving them what they want, right? Find something else to be and complain about. And so that's why I feel like with more of this going out there, with more of the campaigns still utilizing this, I don't want to say it, but it kind of is just an outdated marketing manipulation tool. It just sort of is growing weary on me. I don't really even look at it hardly anymore whatsoever in terms of backing or not backing. In fact, I would make the argument that with any of these campaigns, you should skip that whole section. You should ignore the name of the company doing it and see if it actually looks quality without those things in place, and then maybe slightly start to factor them back in. But if those are your main decision points, again, you're going to end up with stuff that's, well, them making you think that you wanted it in the first place, and the opposite is probably more likely true than you care to admit, right? Again, not talking about you, talking about me. You've never been in that situation. I've been in that situation plenty of times. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm speaking from experience here, because I guess I'm a fool. And so I have been burned, and I would like that not to happen to me again. And to circle back around to the funding here at the end again. Does it really matter? Does it really matter how much a game funds? No. Game funds, game doesn't fund, right? It's a 1 or a 0, speaking of binary, right? It's not one of those where this game is going to be X amount of times better because it got X amount of funding. But yet, that is still somehow a dopaminergic hit in our brain, which is, again, why Kickstarter uses it in the first place, right? When you pull up that Kickstarter crowdfunding page, all you see right here is, well, on Kickstarter, not even the amount, but just the percent funded, right? And surprisingly, you don't see as many here, although you see it right there, right? Stretch goals, last hours, funded in X. You don't see as many at this point, but even on GameFound as well, right? They all have funded in X, funded in X, funded in even when, you know, X is way out there. It's supposed to make you feel more confident that you are not gonna, well, have a bad product. You might not have any bad products. All of the games that you see all over the place might be fantastic games. But again, are they fantastic games for you? Be more critical. It's okay. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great day. Peace out.